My name is Dustin Pickering, and I am the editor-in-chief of Harbinger Asylum. I have founded Transcendent Zero Press. This is here our co-founder, ZM Wise, and he's going to discuss important life issues, his new work, and his trip to Colorado. So, Mr. ZM Wise, could you tell us what sparked this latest impulse of creation from you that you were discussing?
Certainly, sir. Well, as I had said in a previous interview, I also noticed, and you told me that you and several other poets had gone through this serious bout of writer's block, and it's very unfortunate. I'm just like, maybe I shouldn't hang around you people. I might catch it too. No, I'm just, but no. Luckily, if anything, it's been the complete opposite. It's been just a creative burst. I finished a previous notebook in almost a month's time, and included 50 poems in this pretty lengthy essay, and a lot of that sparked some more poems on Eastern thinking, which I've incorporated into my work over the years and into my life over the years as well. A lot of that had to do with visiting my brother in Boulder, Colorado. That that was pretty much the cherry on the Eastern cake, and a part of it came from going to this guided group meditation at his university, Naropa, where Allen Ginsberg and Anne Waldman lectured. And Anne Waldman still lectures there at the Jack Kerouac School of Disembodied Poetics. It was there that I had opened up an entire muse, and I also went through a pretty harsh life lesson recently.
What did this life lesson teach you? Did you push into your creative work?
Oh, I knew I had to, otherwise I probably would have experienced some horrific results. In a nutshell, I didn't provide a balance for myself. For quite a while, I had been completely guarded myself, both in here and up here. Not exactly skeptical per se, but just as careful as I could be. But expanding on that school of thought, I let this life lesson come into me. I made it a part of my soul, and like I said, I was completely guarded, and then when the life lesson hit me, a little part of this shattered, and a rush of emotions came through. So this life lesson took a lot of spiritual purging, a lot of what I like to call ocean of emotion. Definitely writing, singing, meditating, and as people are starting to figure out, I've been actually recording some of my poems and turning them into songs. I've been doing that for as long as I've been performing now, for 6 years. It's been more self-indulgent, but I've sang my work in public a few times here and there. I'm starting to do it a little bit more. I've no idea if I'm great or not, but I'm working on my voice as much as possible, as you'll hear soon. But so from this life lesson stemmed a sequence of 14 poems. They can be submitted to journals either separate or as a whole, but it revolves around a few characters, and I use the the personification of animals, and they are all anthropomorphic. So the only character who is not an animal is part of the title, and I'm not going to say it just yet until this bloody thing is released. Yeah, and for the first time though, I will say, I've made the wolf an antagonistic character. Never done that in my entire life. It's pretty interesting considering my spirit animal is the wolf, but but in this piece I do represent another animal. So that happened, and then from that book, after I finished writing that, then I started working on this. It's going to be a series of 40 poems, some of which I will most likely turn into songs, probably almost half of them. I'm not going to tell you the title, but it's kind of a paradox in between Eastern and Western thinking, and what I'm planning to do is just incorporate as much of that as possible in here, and sort of explain the differences as well as similarities between Eastern and Western thinking. I'm not sure if you knew this, but one of my favorites is on the issue of trauma. Let me ask you a question, Monsieur Dustin. When you or someone you know deals with a traumatic incident, whether it's a car accident, rape, molestation, a fire, a mugging, being held at gunpoint, whatnot, how do you, or someone close to you, how do you all handle it, and how do you move on?
I guess it just takes patience, and you kind of have to have somebody to lean on, or maybe several people, to kind of sit with sometimes and say, this is what happened. I don't think it ever really goes away, because you may be 20, 30 years later and you have a flashback or something and you want to talk more about what happened. Maybe you don't even talk about it then. You maybe wait, several years later and say, this is what happened. I mean, that happens a lot. So as far as an actual method of dealing with trauma, it just happens you just have to let it happen naturally. You can't really try to, pursue some sort of, some people would say just put it behind you and all of that. I don't think that's healthy to some degree. I think trying to strengthen yourself and learn from that lesson, once it's happened, realize that what got me in that position when that happened and things like that, take some precautions, learn to move forward, and like I said, talk with people about it. That's all I can think of,
Definitely. Well, as far as the Eastern beliefs are concerned, in a nutshell, and sometimes it might sound harsh, but they believe that because like the Westerners devote so much time into trying to get over the trauma or move on as much as possible, they believe in dealing with it right then and there, no matter what it is, and just treating it like it's a flea on your shoulder and just flick it off and just move on, because you are a part of something, a part of the bigger picture. You are a part of the world.
Right.
There's that Native American saying about animals. We belong to the earth does not belong to us, and I firmly agree with that. And I mean that does include humans as well, I'd like to think, although we are animals ourselves. But yeah, that's just one of many differences. I mean, like the Western thought is it's simplified. When we think of self, we think of yourself, myself. There's nothing beyond that. The only thing that matters is, as long as I can be the best myself there is, me, moving on. That's all that matters. But another part of the Eastern thinking is it's not exactly up to you. I mean, it sort of is, but you don't have that much control, because the self, it's more than just flesh and bone. There's something in here. It's the inner self. It's the all-seeing eye, and that can definitely come into effect when meditating as well. It'll depend on what you see, what you choose to see, or what the all-seeing eye chooses to see. It's extraordinary how it works out. Sometimes it can be quite the peculiar experience. There's this poem I wrote about 2-3 years ago. About 4 years ago, called The Color of Closed Eyes. I'm not sure if you remember me reading that in public a couple times. Well, I told the public to just close their eyes and try to see what I see whenever I read it. And I'm not sure if you know, but sometimes when you're closing your eyes, at first you'll see the outline of the room you're in. You'll see darkness. It'll start to set in. Then you'll see the primary colors, a rush of them. Sometimes if you close your eyes a little harder, sometimes you'll see a darker blue. The more they're open, you see a crimson red. Sometimes it's yellow. And sometimes there are little, what I like to call fireflies inside your eyes just dancing about. They're these little electrical sparks just here and there, just ricocheting off the sides of your eyes. But it's so much more than that. And sometimes meditation can seem like an out-of-body experience. But digression.
So would you like to do your song at this point?
Sure, yeah. So, I do agree that there is a difference between poetry and songwriting, but for me personally, they all start out as poems, and if there's an intention for it to become a song, it will, and if not, that's quite fine with me. Either way, as long as I can perform it out loud, as long as I could read it out loud as a poem, that's what matters. So, this is called Western Love Song, and it was easier to do than the Eastern one, of course, but nowadays the Eastern poems, they're coming to me more naturally now, more naturally than ever. So, yeah, Western Love Song. And, of course, since I am a bit of an amateur, I apologize in advance. Sorry if your computer glass breaks. When I'm walking, it's like I'm walking towards the open air, wings of wind guiding me to your rolling seas. When I'm talking, it's like I'm talking to the misshapen clouds, drifting away and leading me to your tranquil breeze. And the fires are lit, and the rings have melted, and the music has been made. The artwork hung itself, the charcoal drafts of infants begin to gradually fade. Face, lips, hair, beautiful northern blue. Mind, intellect, spectrum of emotion, I love only you. Instrumental break. When we're holding hands. Goodness gracious, great balls of fire, I can't read my own writing. Alright. Well, you know what? No, I'm not going to do the whole thing. That's just a little preview, so that's just a little part of Western Love Song. I don't think it would feel right to give you the full thing, especially since these are still drafts. And, yeah, and then I just have one poem. Alright, so this is just simply called A Poem on Eastern and Western Thinking. And there are 4 stanzas. First Western, then Eastern, then Western, then Eastern. So just try to remember that pattern. And you'll also notice with the volume of my voice, the louder portion will be Western, the more taciturn version will be Eastern. A poem on Eastern and Western thinking. Pizza slice, knock thrice, house party, sex, empty, hollow heart, assuming the best, disease, stress troubles, machine error, user error, temper tantrum, books equals kindling, art equals so what, television skies, toll booth films, media-induced images of tits and war, guns give hard-ons for trigger initiation. Sun salutations emerge not as a butterfly, but as the self. The other self hibernates. Meditation, the antidote for loneliness. Organic living, smiles of purity, forest fears dissipate, move past trauma, harness its temporal hold on you, Karma, dharma, reincarnation. Your physical self matters not. Die and decay in soil next to sunflower field. Candy, carbs, and noise, muzak, slang, electricity outside the rooms, automotive obsession, cars equals gasoline, alcoholics, beer gut, blurpy, blurpy, follow major mainstream trends, fad heads of hormones, bodies of lust, only creatures of habit, frightened of rational change. The skipping stone is not a skipping stone, but a speck of Zen, music of the riverside, language of mountainous wildlife. Spirits of the other side guide us, prompting us not only to touch the flame, but to manipulate the burning sensation. Strive to achieve more. Pour tea with rose hips and hibiscus. Feel tantric healing. Ecstasy runs rampant with temptation. Euphoria, what is your favorite color?
That's ZM Wise, and we are sounding off. We appreciate this conversation and moments with you, Mr. Wise, and this is Dustin Pickering, and blessings to all.